Okay, so we're in the middle of Perek Yutes, Chelke Chasidus, trying to become Chasidim. So we saw in previous weeks there's a Chasidus between man and a Kadosh Baruch Hu, which is taking a mitzvah and bringing it to the nth degree, going within the Shura Sadin. So the tzaddik is the Shura Sadin. He does what he's told to do, and the Chassid infers from what he's told to do what he should be doing. So that plays stuff out when it comes to, we saw in previous weeks, the mitzvah of Kiddush Hayom was one mitzvah that the Tanoim, Amoraim held very tight onto. And every person has to find a mitzvah or two or 613 that they feel connected to and take it to an extreme in a positive manner, of course. Last week we focused on Chasidus. The word Chasid is in Lashon Chesed. So a main part of Chasidus is doing Chesed with other people. We went through all the Mamarei Chazal, how Chesed is more important than Tzedakah, and the importance of Chesed, looking for ways to reach out to people and to better other people's lives. When one does that, usually they themselves become happier as well. So there's always a selfish component which should be used in order to motivate a person to involve themselves in such things. This week we'll get into the Chelik Hasheni Min HaChasidus, as the Mesillas Yesharim refers to it as Ba'ofen HaAsiyah. And that is the context, let's say the mindset that I have when I do a mitzvah. Right, so Chasidus it dictates what I do, how I keep the mitzvahs. Those Amoraim, Kiddush Hayom, they never were mavat, they never didn't fulfill the mitzvah of Kiddush Hayom, and other mitzvahs as well. Ches with other people, so Chasidus dictates how I act, my actions with other people, but Chasidus also dictates my mindset. And that's broken into two components. Right? So this is getting into the general avodas Hashem. How do I approach my mitzvahs, my avodas Hashem? So there's, as we all know, there's yira and there's ava. There's through fear and through love. But fear itself is divided into two categories. Fear has a negative connotation for us. Right? We like, especially this day and age, positive reinforcement. Right? There is a place for yiras ha'inish, which is fear of sin. As Marashi used to say, the fear of the shtekin, of the stick. There's a stick that a person that does an avera, he gets patched, so it's the fear of the stick, which is a good motivator sometimes. But there's also what's called yiras haroimamus, which is not really fear, but it's awe. Right? If the Queen of England would walk in here right now, right, so your heart might beat a little faster. Now, she has no authority over any one of us, and she's not going to hurt or maim or penalize any one of us. Right? But if the Queen of England would walk in through this door right now, there's a certain awe we have of the Malchus. It is related to fear, but it's not a fear. It's not a childish fear of getting caught doing something wrong. It's a fear. It's just an awe. So the yira that the Mesillas Yesharim discusses here, he does not discuss at all yiras hachet. Yiras ha'inish, fear of sin, of punishment. He only talks about the yiras haromimus, awe of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. It's not really a scared, fright, a pachad type thing. It's more, being in awe of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. And he breaks it down into three components. He says like this. He says, B'chlal ha'yira, yesh ha'achna, milufanav yisbarach. Submissiveness. That I submit myself to a Kadosh Baruch Hu, to his authority. Right? Not because I have to. Right? Again, we have to rid ourselves of this negative association with fear. It's when you're enamored by someone, so you submit yourself to what they want you to do, and hopefully it's a good person that won't take advantage of you. Right? So we're supposed to be enamored by a Kadosh Baruch Hu, which leads to a hachna milufanov, a submissiveness that I want to be on your team. I think let's say when it comes to a person, you see a very successful executive, right? Let's say a person's boss is like really successful, really nice guy, well-rounded. So you submit yourself to him, and what can I do to help? You want to be very helpful, and you want to be on his team, right? So that's the submissiveness that we're talking about over here. That's number one. It's the first component of yira, of awe. The second one is haboishes bikroiv elavodasai, a certain boishes, which means humility. Not embarrassment, but boishes means, am I worthy really? The Kadosh Baruch Hu is so great and beyond our comprehension. Am I worthy of worshiping Him? So when I approach the avodah, when I approach my davening, when I approach my mitzvahs, it's with a certain boishes, which means not embarrassment, but realization of how small I am, and how great HaKadosh Baruch Hu is. Now, that's not a depressing thought. We're not talking about how I'm nothing and I'm worth nothing and I am nothing, because then if that's the case, I'll just go to sleep the whole day, right? We're talking about just a recognition of that I have shortcomings that I'm here to fix, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is allowing me to do that through servicing Him, and I'm aware of the distance between myself and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the second component of awe, of Yiras HaRemimus. The third component is V'hakavod hanase al mitzvosiv. It's the honor and the respect that we give the mitzvahs that HaKadosh Baruch Hu allows us to keep. And we'll see examples of all these three things. And then when it comes to Ava, he delineates here, but he gets to it much later in the chapter. When it comes to Avas Hashem, worshiping Hashem with love, through love, there you have Simcha. The components of love are Simcha. We'll say contentment. I don't like translating Simcha as happiness, because happiness means that you won the lottery. It's that feeling of, wow, I just found $100 and didn't realize I had. That's happiness, but that's not really going to stay. That's not a long-term. Simcha is a long-term emotion, a long-term mindset. So it can't be happiness. When we say in English happy, it means content. A certain tranquility, maybe we'll say. Simcha is tranquility. Dveikus is connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is the second component of Ava. And Kina, jealousy, but not jealousy, I'm jealous of someone else's whatever, his suit. Kina means like Pinchas, that he was jealous on behalf of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I guess zealous is zeal. That when someone I love, something happens to them, the person I love, so the person who affronted them, I want to correct that out of my love for the person. So our love for HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to lead us to be zealous on his behalf. So now he goes into the three components of Yira. So how do I instill in myself? What's the first two components of Hachna and Busha? Right, the first two components are that mindset of I'm submitting myself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and when I approach the mitzvahs, it's with a certain humility. So there are three machshavas of Hinei Shloisha Dvarim Tzarach Sheyistakel Adam Yizbayin Heitiv. There are three things I have to contemplate, as we see throughout the entire Sefer. And I think, as an aside, this is a basic mistake that a lot of us make in yeshivas, is that when it comes to learning Musar, in particular Mesillas Yesharim, we think it's like any other part of Torah, which is learning Halach, learning Gemara. What's the point? The point is that the information that's written down should go into my head, right? And I should know what it says and understand it on a deep level. That's the ideal. And when it comes to Halach, when it comes to Gemara, that's true. When it comes to Mesillas Yesharim, when it comes to Musar, if you know this book backwards and forwards with all the commentaries, you have a very deep understanding of what it says here, that's just the beginning. I mean, now you're ready to start the Musar. In other words, it's all about contemplation. So we're going to say right now, there are three things that one has to look at in order to reach this Yira. Knowing these three things, all that does is allow us to begin the Avodah. But it's all about contemplation. Zrizas and Zehiras and Precious, and Nikiyas, everything, it's all about the contemplation. So this is no different. A person has to, Yisboining, make a study, how many times in this Sefer does he say the word Yisboining? It could be the most used word after the Hine and other type words. Yisboining hate, one has to contemplate carefully. Echad, the first thing, Shu Oimid Mamash Tifnei HaBor Yisbarach Shmoi V'noise V'noisen Imoi. When a person is davening, whenever a person wants to speak to Hashem, we have to realize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is ki'ilu. It's as if He's sitting right in front of us. And just like I'm talking to you now, and I know that hopefully you're paying attention. When we have a conversation with someone, and they're looking at you, they're paying attention to what you're saying. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when I daven, is sitting right there, Kivyachol, and He's listening to what I'm saying. Not like I'm saying something and it's being recorded and it's going to be brought to the king. If you want to send a letter to the president, you see there's an email address. You can email them and hopefully some advisor will pass it on. Maybe it'll get to the president. With the Kadosh Baruch Hu, it's not like that. The Kadosh Baruch Hu, He's sitting right there next to you and listening to everything you're saying. That's the first thing one has to be misburned. How close the Kadosh Baruch Hu is to me right now at any point in time. The second thing, after one contemplates that, one has to contemplate how great HaKadosh Baruch Hu is. Omnipotent and omniscient, and whatever He wants, everything is in His control. One has to contemplate how great HaKadosh Baruch Hu is. And the third thing is Lufi chamriyusoi v'gasusoi. A person has to contemplate how, what a humble nature that man is, and his baseness. Especially the sins one has transgressed. One has to realize that I'm not really worthy. On my own, I'm not worthy. But again, that thought has to be followed by, but if I'm alive now, so there's hope, right? I'm really not worthy. But if I'm here now, it means the Kadosh Baruch Hu has a plan for me. I have to figure out that plan, and I have to do it. I have to get it done. So it's not a debilitating thought. It's not a paralyzing thought that you're so great and I'm nothing, and so there's no. What's the point? Right? That's not what he means to say. He means to say that a person just has to have that recognition that, lahavdil, you take a successful person. We're all inspired by people. You hear about some guy who ran. He was like a big overweight guy. And then, within 5 years, he's running a marathon, 26-mile marathon, right? So we're all inspired by that. I'm so far from that, right? And look what this person did. So that's going to inspire me to have a 5-minute workout, and then a 10-minute workout, and then a 20, and 40, and then a person. That's what he means over here. That we have to realize how great the Kadosh Baruch Hu is, and how low we are, and then realize that, okay, so now I have an opportunity to try to get close to a Kadosh Baruch Hu. That has to be the Mahalach HaMachshava. And those three things lead to that hachna we have to have, that submissiveness, as well as the busha, as well as that humility when I approach the Avodah. The third component of this awe, of getting this Yiras Hashem, is the cover to the mitzvah. Giving cover to mitzvahs, honoring mitzvahs. He starts off with the famous Gemara on Shabbos, it's in Sukkah as well. Zeh keli v'anvei. This is my God, and I am going to, how do they translate it here? I will adorn him, right? Which means, hisna'a l'fon of the mitzvahs. I have to make the mitzvahs beautiful. Tzitzis na'ah, I have to have nice tzitzis. Tefillin na'ah, Sefer Torah na'ah, lulav na'ah, I have to make the mitzvahs nice. As we've mentioned, we've quoted a number of times this famous mashal, where a person's on his 25th anniversary, and he takes, that's the silver anniversary, I think, he takes a silver, whatever it is, the earrings, and he throws it at his wife. Here, take it. Right? Or you can take make a very nice card, and wrap it nicely, and maybe draw a picture and whatever, and give it to her. Right? Which one will a normal person be happier with? Either gave a $20,000 pair of earrings, but he threw to her, and he made a nice card, and he took thought, and he picked the perfect card with the perfect wording, and he wrote something very special and sensitive, and right. So when it comes to mitzvahs, it's the same thing, right? How a person performs the mitzvah is very telling about the mitzvah. In the world of tzidkus, of being a tzaddik, so we're looking at the halachas, making sure my tefillin are kosher. But then, how do I put on the tefillin? How do I act in the tefillin? Which is not really an integral part of the mitzvah of tefillin, in the sense that the fulfillment is based on the halachas. Chasidus starts with, how do I care for my tefillin? Right? Do I make sure the ritzuas go on the floor? Do I make sure that I pick it up quickly? Do I make sure that I keep it in a covered place? I wrap it carefully. When I'm wearing my tefillin, I'm watching what I'm saying and realizing I have a Kadosh Baruch Hu on my head, by my heart. So the kavod we give to the mitzvahs, that's chasidus. And he goes on to say that the outward actions that we do affect the pnimius. So if I'm mechabed a person, I'll end up actually valuing them. And many of the Bali Musar, if they had an issue with someone, they would think about 5 positive things about that person. Once a person does that, they'll have a more positive view of the person. No, but he insulted me the same way, whether I contemplate his miles or not. How does that change the event that happened that he insulted me? The answer is that if you train yourself to think positively about someone, you'll think positively about him. Same thing with the mitzvahs. We have an obligation to be mechabed the mitzvahs in a way that will cause us to be machshav the mitzvahs. I once heard my Rosh Yeshiva, Tzvi Kaplan, giving mussar to a bacher. I forgot what it was about. I happened to walk into his house when he was in the middle of this conversation, and he said to the bacher, "Do you remember when your father brought home his daled minim, his lulav nesser? Was that like a memorable moment in your family, in your upbringing? Or do you remember when he got a new car? Or when he got the tickets to come down to Florida for vacation, winter break? Or when he got a raise? Like, what do you remember from what were the memorable moments in your household? Was it the renovation of the kitchen? Or was it the daled minim? Was it the pair of tefillin? Was it your bar mitzvah? What was it? The Pesach cleaning?" So we have to realize that the Rosh makes on our children, but even on ourselves. Where is the person's chiyus? We have to give covet to the same covet we give to our worldly possessions, which is fine. Nothing wrong with being excited about having a new car, having a new renovated house. Nothing wrong with that. But we have to realize that the same covet, at least, we give those things, we have to give the mitzvahs as well. So it's these three things together it's that lead to this awe. It's the understanding how great a Kadosh Baruch Hu is, and how deficient I am, but again, not in a paralyzing way. And that invigorates me, and I have the opportunity to come close to Kadosh Baruch Hu. He's so great, and I'm so small. Imagine if hopefully as a child, that sports hero, you can say that, sports hero, right? This figure, he would invite you to come and hang out with him for a little bit. You'd be so excited. But I'm not worthy. Michael Jordan would invite you to play basketball, shoot hoops with him, right? So, okay, whatever, it's a joke. I mean, me compared to him is not. But I'd be so happy to do that with him because, okay, I have a shaykhis. So Kadosh Baruch Hu is the same thing. Kadosh Baruch Hu is so great. I'm so low, but he's inviting me to have a shaykhis to him. So that's not debilitating, it's invigorating. That leads to the hachna, to my desire to be on a Kadosh Baruch Hu's team, and the humility I approach the avodah with. And if we give covet to mitzvahs, that'll also cause us to view the mitzvahs in a more, I feel more connected to the mitzvahs. And I feel more a part of them. So that's how one engenders in himself yiras harodis, fear, the awe of a Kadosh Baruch. So the project for this week, I don't want to make it too hard, right? To say contemplate Hashem's greatness is probably hard to do, right? It's a hard thing to do. So let's do a covenant mitzvah. Let's pick a mitzvah that we don't necessarily are being mechabed properly, or let's say we are being mechabed properly. Let's pick a mitzvah that we can be mechabed more than we've been doing till now. So think of one mitzvah that's easy, and what can I do to be mechabed this mitzvah a bit more? I think we're all yoytz for Bris Milah. That's gonna be a hard one. And the covenant mitzvah also might be learning the halachas, showing that it's important to me. So let each one of us think of a mitzvah and a very small way that we can be mechabed that mitzvah a little more, and hopefully that'll bring us to yiras haroyim, the awe of a Kadosh Baruch Hu.